personally one of my favorite doctor introductions is where he walks through the smoke and says, "Hi,
Oh yeah.
I'm the doctor."
Get used to the speakers, because we are going to save about, I'm ending it like 42 minutes in so that we have time for a video at the end. Because if anything I say in this doesn't convince you to watch Dr. Who, I have a video that will. It's a nice 5-minute video, and it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. I've seen it about 30 times.
My friends
It's
and
the
friends
eyeball
disown me
scene.
if I don't figure out who this Doctor Who guy is.
What's that?
My friends and friends disown me if I don't figure out who this Doctor Who
You
is.
see, and I demonstrated this last night on my friend Adam, and I'll do it again. This is, everyone in this room who knows about Dr. Who, we all have this friend, and we're trying to convince them, and finally we just run up to them and we go, "Why haven't you watched Doctor Who yet? Why? You're going to kill your children! What is wrong with you?" And then they go ahead and watch it, and they love it forever.
You did that to me in a true
Yeah.
story until 6 months later.
I didn't do that to you, Jessica did.
Goddamn.
Yeah, see? I'm always right.
Bullshit. The doctor is always right.
The doctor is always right.
Yeah, but the doctor lies.
The doctor does lie, but it doesn't mean I'm not
He's
always right.
deceiving.
I'm deceiving, but not. First rule of being a Time Lord, the doctor lies. Second rule, trust the doctor. Contradictions.
Yes.
They're amazing, aren't they? We have our general outline, and this is what we're going to be following today. We are going to start with a brief history of Doctor Who, how it started, when it began, all that fun jazz, little trivia facts. Then we're going to go into physiology of a Time Lord. This way we can understand everything, how he works, and then we'll talk about each of the 11 Doctors. We'll give you a little bit of their personality, who they are, how long they're active, who the actors are. And then we'll move into tools of the Doctor, the companions, who they are. We'll talk about unit a little bit so you can learn who they are, importance to the show. Then the last thing we're going to round it out with is notable species. That's going to include all the two of the classic villains. There's a sub one in there for a third. Then we'll talk about the Time War, which is instrumental between classic and new. And then we've got 2 new villains, 2 that have been introduced since 2005, brand new to the show, and very cool ones. And then we'll go into a conclusion. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of time. In fact, I'm going to start this timer now to make sure I don't run over. I don't want to piss off the next panel. But it's going to just give you a nice video so that if anything I've said today doesn't convince you to watch Doctor Who, this video will. I've watched it 30 times, probably at least, and every time I get goosebumps. Yes, come in, take a seat, enjoy yourselves. All right, so let us begin with history of Doctor Who. I know, it's a little boring, but stick with it. All right, so Doctor Who first aired at 5:15 p.m. on November 23rd of 1963. Why is this important? It was the day after the Kennedy assassination, and there was rolling blackouts across all of England, so it had to get pushed back. It was also important at the time, specifically, because they're going to air the 50th anniversary episode, which is this year, at the exact same time and date in England, and then it will spread out across the world. So why was there this popular demand for Who? What did they want to do with it? Why did we want to make this show in '63? Well, the original intent was it was a history program made cool, and that's really a nice idea, because if you have this time traveler who's going forwards in time, backwards in time, you can try and present people to the audience in a history in a way that is a little bit more interesting than just standing up here like I am and giving you a lecture. I know. So the other thing was it was also pre-moon landing. This was, and this deals with more of the future aspect. Nobody really knew what space was like. You know, there was all this intent, the space race, you know, we have to get there. Kennedy had declared we would and all this sort of stuff. Get to the moon. So, you know, everyone really had this rush. They wanted to see this energy and what it was. So that really helped move Doctor Who into its prime. But as the show went on, it went on for a very long time, and it started to get a little bit dry. The characters seemed not to be written as well. So it went on a hiatus. It was never canceled, it just kind of got pulled back. But that lasted for 15 years, from August of 1990 through March of 2005. But then you have to ask, why did they want to bring it back? And that's pretty much 2 factors. One is, during the hiatus, they made the TV movie in '96. So that really helped. It was a collaboration between the BBC, Canadian Television, and Vox. Most people say, well, it was a 90s movie and everything. It really wasn't that great and it's filmed in a 90s manner. But that's how Doctor Who would have been filmed in the 90s. Everything was filmed that way. You can't say that about one thing. That's how it was. And then the other thing that helped was books, magazines, the people who grew up watching it. You know, there was such a vast network of Whovians that we all kept talking about it. So, you know, it kind of got into people's head. And the people who grew up watching it now had the power to bring it back. They were the ones writing things. They're like, well, I want Doctor Who back. Let's do this. So they did. And then how has it survived so long? That's really just comes down to the continual story, this aspect that even through 50 years, everything is still canon. You could go back and watch the original and learn more about the new stuff. You know, they really do a good job of making it so the new episodes, you don't need to know the old stuff, but it adds to it. So that's how it survives so long. And by the way, it's aliens. That's what this show is about. Yes, he's going to explain to you everything about the show. It is simply aliens. All you need to know. So, now we're going to go into, you know, the idea of what is the physiology of a Time Lord. And this is very key to the show. The thing with Time Lords is they don't have any physical differences. It's a trick question. The only thing that's really different between them and us is they have two hearts. Well, I have two hearts. But, you know, that's how it is. Yeah, I don't know how you guys get along with just one. Alright, so we have two hearts, that's a little bit different, but the key thing too to us is something called regeneration. And it's basically, as stated, a complete new life cycle. The idea is that every cell in your body basically destroys itself and replicates itself again. It rips everything apart and creates a whole new being. And the only thing that's retained with all of that is the memories, everything before. So when I regenerate, all of that information is still there. I know everything my past self did, but my personality changes. Everything of who I am is gone. I still know what I did, but now I'm a new person. I have to go out and kind of figure myself out, what I like, what I don't like. Sometimes I don't really like apples. Apples are rubbish. Sometimes I just can't eat a pear. Don't want to wake up with that taste in my mouth. Ugh. So, that's the other thing.
Custards.
True, fish fingers and custards. Very delicious. So, with this nice little regeneration trick, you can live thousands of years due to this. That's how the Time Lords are so old. And there was kind of a 13th regeneration rule, but we kind of wrote that out because we realized, they kind of thought, well, we'll never make it to 13 Holy crap, we're getting close. We don't want to end this, it kind of makes money, we'll just slide that out. No one knows that. Away with you. So that's the other thing. But that's what regeneration is, and that's how you get 11 different doctors. So now that we kind of understand that you can have this trick and you can have a show that lasts so long, now we're going to go into who the doctors are individually. And of course, we must start with the first. There he is, good old me. I looked so handsome back then. He was played by William Hartnell. He was active from 1963 till 1969, started the show. The best way to describe this man is he is your grandfather. That's what he was. He traveled along with a companion of his, Susan, who was his granddaughter. So he was a grandfather sort of character. He spoke down to you when you don't think and you don't use your intelligence like your grandfather does. If you do something stupid, how often does your grandfather come to you? What were you doing? What were you thinking? Mine does it all the time. He loves to do it to me. I hate that. But that's, again, he just has the high expectations of you. He's been around a long time. He knows that you can live up to it, so he has that high expectations. He's a very kind old man when he wants to be, but he can be very fierce at the same time. And then, of course, you must get the quote, Doctor Who. And that's how it all started in the very first episode. And a fun little fact about the first episode. It's the only show in history to be allowed to record its pilot episode twice. They had such issues with the first recording that they did it again. Now, there was one other show, and it's lasted a pretty long time. You may have heard of it, Star Trek. Yes, yes, the only other show to have that opportunity. So that's who the first Doctor was. So now we'll move on to the second. Another handsome-looking fellow. A little bit younger, at least. He was played by Patrick Troughton. Took over 66 to 69. Personality is really the absent fool, is what I like to call him. He liked to play his recorder. I don't know why. It's a nice little thing, recorder, whatever. But he's very much, and as I quoted up here, oh dearie me, and dribbledy-doo, and all this sort of stuff, and I'm scared, and oh, whoa, whoa. But it's a hidden brilliance sort of thing. He's got the intelligent there, but he puts on this act of, you know, I'm a weak, little, feeble old man, but don't look at me because I'm doing something clever behind your back. And that's what he did. He was very, very good at that, and I really do enjoy it. Second Doctor, one of my favorite ones. So now, after second, I wonder what comes next. Oh, right, third. Going back to kindergarten here. So, this third Doctor, John Pertwee. He was active 70 to 74. His personality, a bit of the magician. And I tried to figure out ways to describe these guys in just like one sentence and then break it down from there. I call him the magician because he actually did like to perform magic tricks. For whatever reason, that was his little shtick. But he's a magician too because as a magician, you're out on the stage and you're a magician. You're performing. You have a face and a persona that people know. But you also have a different face that people don't know when you're off stage. And that's how he was. To his friends, he was one person, but to his enemies, he was another. He was a fierce fighter. He was the one who knew karate and actually would fight, which was kind of cool, especially back in the 70s. It's like, yeah! Everyone loved that. So, the other thing with him is he was a scientist first. That was key, you know. He would fight second, scientist first. If he could reason anything, he would. And he worked most closely with Unit. We'll talk about them later. Unit really came into being with the second Doctor. He worked very closely with the third, and then a little bit with the fourth, and then they kind of fade out and then come back. But that was mainly because the Time Lord said, hey, you know how your TARDIS can travel through time and space? We're going to take away that ability. Yeah, you're grounded on Earth. You were bad. Because they can do that. Bastards. So, yeah, and then Joe, did you fail Latin as well as science? One of his partners. He had to always get it at her. So next is the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. Most people know this man. He's a very, wrong button. He's a very well-respected person, and a lot of people's favorites. You get he has a 17-foot-long scarf. I mean, who else can wear such a thing of multicolors? But yes, Tom Baker, active 74 to 81. Personality is really the easygoer. It just, things worked, and if they worked in his favor, yippee! And it's that mentality of, oh, I knew it would work the whole time. And no, you didn't. You walked out of the TARDIS and fell into a trap. And you knew it would work, bull. And he tends to insult species a lot. It's something with the Doctor. He likes to look down at you and get in your face, and there are certain ones, 4th and 9 especially, who just like it. When they're upset, they'll just get in there and insult you. Oh, you lower species, you, how dare you? What is wrong with you? You're not as good as me. But he does give you one of the best quotes of all time, and this is just actually a nice little thing to think about throughout your life, is there's no point being grown up if you can't act childish sometimes, which is very true. It's like, and that's what he was, you know. He was an adult, but hey, I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm alive once, might as well. So, well, I'm alive multiple times, but hey, you can still kill a Time Lord before regeneration. So, you know, I think it was Sylvester McCoy who said, a Time Lord can live an infinite amount of time so long as he doesn't have too many accidents. So, yeah. But that was Tom. He was a fantastic Doctor, very well respected. Now we have the 5th. And 5, would you please stand up, Eric? Yes, look at him. He's fantastic. He wears a piece of celery because he can. He has long hair and all this sort of stuff. Oh, look at me. I'm a funny little man with celery in my lapel.
Hey, it makes me look good, okay?
Yeah, so you said. The 5th Doctor, Peter Davison. Years active was 81 to 84. Personality is very simple. Don't ask stupid questions. It's like, why are you asking me this? You know the answer. He had a companion once say, oh, so he goes, well, I'm going to put the information in the TARDIS and we're going to go find them. Oh, so you found them? No, that's why I'm looking for them. What is wrong with you? But yeah, he was a very lovable person, a very easygoing soul too. He was the young Doctor. He was the first one to be really young and take advantage of this. But again, you know, it was that, I love that, you know, this don't ask stupid question things. And the quote I put up there is a little bit longer thing.